Welcome to Waywut. This is a rabbit hole podcast where we cover topics ranging from sports to true crime and pop culture to just weird facts. Really, it's just a couple of guys taking turns to present weird topics to each other. We publish episodes on Tuesdays and sometimes on Fridays. You can watch us on YouTube and listen pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, just wherever. We're probably there. We really appreciate you joining us for this episode. And now that we got all this self-promotion stuff out of the way, here we go. All right. Hello there. Welcome to the newest episode of Waywut. My name is Darrell. I'm going to be today's host. And here I am with number 400,295th on the FBI's most wanted list.
Man, I gotta get my number up. I gotta go rob a bank or something real quick.
Yeah, apparently that you get in the 400,000s if you complain about postal workers too much.
Oh, well, I have done that. It's just still ain't over with. I actually got an email yesterday from one of my credit cards saying that we have returned mail from you saying that it was undeliverable. And I get a notice from the toll tag people saying that we owe them $110 for unpaid tolls. But once again, not getting one single notice in the mail that we have a toll due because of our stupid ass mail lady.
I wish I could offer up a potential solution, but
And she drove in my yard. There's a rut in my yard. She drove up on the curb.
I'm loving this because this is going to go very well with what I'm talking about tonight. Good.
I'm just laying in the groundworks.
All right. I'm going to jump right into my rant today. It's a cynical guy rant.
So I think I do have one of those every single day.
Yeah. Well, this one is inspired because it's election time again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's time to vote for whichever rich person will be in charge of making sure their rich friends and their richer bosses stay rich and powerful. The rich people. Now, personally, me, myself, I believe government in general is just inherently evil. I'm not an anarchist because, people without structure would be friggin' terrifying. I just believe there's no governing system that is capable that is incapable of being corrupted.
Yeah.
Just regardless.
Power.
Yeah. I mean, government is a necessary evil. And this is widely accepted because so many people, describe every single election as picking the lesser of two evils. It's
pick your poison.
Yeah. Everybody just kind of accepts, like, oh, well, this is what we got.
Go with the devil,
Yeah. But I think that, instead of just saying that, it's important for people to actually accept that, government is, actually evil because it's the first step in accepting a more difficult reality to accept. Normal citizens, you, me, people that, work for a living and don't get trust funds and stuff like that, are in an abusive relationship with the government.
Yeah, they've always got their hand in my pocket. And it's not in a good way.
Now, I'm not making light of people being in abusive relationships. But this is, it's a metaphor. It's a comparison. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you've ever known someone in a physical, emotional, or mentally abusive relationship, then helping these people is insanely difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear any advice you give them.
Yeah, exactly. The ones who aren't ready, for help resist accepting the truth about their relationship. And sometimes it's because, they feel like they deserve what's happening to them.
Okay, yeah.
And I feel like most, like I said, normal, average, everyday people experience that same sort of denial whenever it comes to the system that's lording over them. It's like, oh, no, it's not true. It's good. I have a voice. Or then it's like, well, everything we've done, we just kind of deserve it at this point. It's.
I'm just totally used to it by now. I don't care anymore.
I can take it.
It's more taxes. Okay, whatever. I'm already getting taxed out the ass anyway.
Now, for those of you that need convincing, here's I want you to kind of take a second to look at things a different way. Like, first, the government is always saying that it just wants to do what's best for you, despite its behavior. I mean, because that's what abusers always say. I'm doing this for you because I love you.
I'm spanking you right now, but it really hurts me.
Yeah. And Vietnam is one of the easiest examples of this. This was a conflict sold, as America white knighting against, the USSR and saving everyone from communism. Mm-hmm. We lost that war. And guess what? The world is still here. It was, it was this needless conflict that normal people went over there and fought and got killed. It was the politicians, government officials that centered their careers around that conflict that lived peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. Another way they do this is, how I feel about the FDA. They say it's an organization that's there to protect people from bad, drugs and food. 75% of its budget is supplied by the entities that it regulates. So we get to see things like Oxycontin get marketed as non-addictive, and ingredients in our food that are known to be harmful, like brominated vegetable oil, red dye number 3, and titanium dioxide. Those are all ingredients that are banned in Europe because they have links to things like cancer and nervous system damage and hyperactivity. But America says it's fine because the companies paid them to tell everybody it's fine. It's okay.
Or just a little be all right.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
$10 in there, okay.
So also, like an abusive person, the government, politicians, and just whoever's on top, lie relentlessly. They just lie. If you vote for my side, then we won't let all the big corporations and the rich influence the government. Yet both sides are continually funded by big corporations. Both of them have big corporate donors. Yeah. If you vote for my side, we'll make sure that you are able to make more money. Politicians get rich in the stock market and doing speaking engagements to their rich buddies, while everybody else is just still scraping by and doing whatever it is that they do. Their lives aren't, usually if it's changed, it's for the worse.
Yep, you get that book deal afterwards.
We promise that this income tax or the Patriot Act will be temporary. The income tax,
tollways.
The income tax was, instituted during the Civil War as a temporary measure to help fund that war. It was supposed to end with the war. It never went away. And then we know what's going on with the Patriot Act.
There's always something to pay for.
And then, finally, we would never spy on you with your phone.
Whatever.
Oh, yeah. I love
that anything around your phone. Yeah.
I love that one. The guy that leaked that out to the, world. They're like, that's treason. It's like, how's that treason? Treason is like, you give military secrets to an enemy. And they're like, yeah, I gave it to the regular citizens and we're not on their side. It's treason.
Yeah. They told on us.
Yeah.
Tattletale.
The government, government politicians, all that, they're all lumped together. Governments, politicians, elite people. In my head, it's all one thing. They isolate regular people like an abusive person tries to isolate the person that they abuse. So it's like, here, I'm going to get you away from all your family and friends. They do that by making sure they divide everything. If you vote for the other side, then you're a bad person. That's how we end up with these stereotypes where it's like the super gay blue-haired baby killers versus the redneck racists with machine guns that shoot 100 Bibles per second. everybody's like, "Oh, you're on that side with those. Well, you're on that side with those," and it creates that division.
Yeah, it's a gang mentality.
Yeah, and people on the opposite side of what you agree with are trying to take everything you believe in away from you. Now, I wish I didn't have to explain this one, but many of the issues that we get portrayed as like black and white actually have tons of gray that would allow for compromise and discussion. But instead, everything's like, no, you're on that side. You're bad. No, you're on that side. If you don't vote for our side, then that other side will win. So stay with me, because I'm the best that you can get. That's essentially what that is. If you don't vote for me, you're going to end up with those other ones, and I'm the best you're ever going to have. I'm what you need. Now, the last thing that I want to talk to whenever it comes to this is I'm going to try to go a little bit more uplifting with my rant, because all that's just super depressing. We have access to the government's greatest weakness, and it's unity, people joining up together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's what eventually got us out of Vietnam. It's what brought about the end of the Jim Crow laws. It's what got women the right to vote. It's the only way to keep this evil thing that needs us in check, is to remember that, it's not us versus us. It's us versus them. Mm-hmm. There's way fewer of them than there are of us.
We the people.
Yeah. So for those of you who are going to go vote, if you aren't happy with your choices, you're not alone. However, I won't have anything to do with any of that, because our government likes to hammer nails that stick out. So I'm not going to stand out and be like, oh, fight the power. But hopefully someday, we can get new parties that aren't like bought and paid for, and we can get grassroots stuff. Or that's what I hope for. It's getting like real people running things again to undo all that stuff. But then again, like I said, if I ever got voted in office, my principles would be for sale in a heartbeat. I'd be like, this is why I'm never going to run for anything. Because, the second DuPont's like, yeah, we want to start making this thing, but it produces these chemicals that make babies grow horns out of their nostrils. How much you pay me?
$5 million. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of our government acting against citizens that try to stand against them, today we're going to talk about the U.S. government, boo, versus Martin Luther King, which I know you're like, hey, Darrell, you're supposed to be talking about stuff that not everyone knows about. Everyone knows about Martin Luther King,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they should. But as the years have gone by, more and more has come out with each subsequent year about how much the government did to that man. And as far as I'm concerned, it just cannot be talked about enough.
Okay.
There needs to be people need to be constantly complaining about this. It's awful. So let's get started, shall we?
Let's do it.
On April 3rd, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee at the Lorraine Motel. The FBI found the fingerprints of an escaped convict named James Earl Ray in a bathroom that they determined that the shots had come from. And then they also found his fingerprints on a rifle that was there. Ray, after, killing Dr. King, managed to get a fake Canadian passport and made it all the way to London, where he was captured at Heathrow Airport, which that came as a shock to me. I was like, wait, what? Oh wow, I said the name of the show. Anyway, no, it's just like, hold on. You're telling me this like borderline illiterate criminal was able to get, escape to, all the way out of the country, but whatever.
What stuck out with me is he actually went to Canada instead of Mexico. Most criminals go to Mexico instead of Canada.
A Canadian passport. He didn't go to Canada.
Oh, okay.
All right. He eventually pled guilty and was sentenced to 99 years in prison. Then, as many confessed killers do, he recanted his confession.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you right now that there's already something out there that goes over everything that I'm going to be going over today. But it's, it's the guy that does it, he does it in so much more detail. And he's he's really interesting about it. But I think this is interesting, and I want to talk about it too. But if you want to watch like a 40-minute long video where a guy goes into like all this detail and has like a whiteboard and draws things, and he's like way more charming than I am, I'll put a link in the description. It's for a guy named Wendigoon. It's his video on this topic. You can go watch his, and like I said, he's way more charming, and his jokes are a lot cleaner than mine are. So
I don't know. You got a pretty good haircut going on. You got that going for you.
Clean.
Your beard looks pretty good manicured today.
No, it's really not. I don't want to. I got to hide the neck beard part. All right, so let's jump into why I want to do this. Martin Luther King's family did not believe that Ray was the assassin. This isn't just, some random rumor or a quote taken out of context. They filed a wrongful death lawsuit against a man by the name of Loyd Jowers in 1998, so 30 years after the assassination.
Uh-huh.
Now, who's Loyd Jowers? Loyd Jowers owned Jim's Grill in 1968, which was near the Lorraine Hotel. Originally, he testified that he was in his restaurant during the assassination, and this was, corroborated by other witnesses.
Uh-huh.
However, in 1993, Jowers claimed to be part of a conspiracy with the Mafia, the Memphis police, and the U.S. government to kill Dr. King. Jowers stated that a mafioso named Frank Lierdo paid him $100,000 to arrange the assassination. He claimed that the Memphis police lieutenant Earl Clark was the actual guy that pulled the trigger.
Okay. So this guy's been the facilitator then? He didn't pull the trigger? Like the go-between?
Yeah, he was the kind of guy that helped set things up.
Okay.
Jowers claimed that the shot was not fired from Ray's room, like, they originally, the FBI said, but from the bushes outside of his restaurant. Oddly enough, during the FBI investigation, they dug up and removed those bushes from a restaurant that was near the Lorraine hotel. So they went out of their way to go where, it didn't happen and removed the bushes where this man claims that, the shot was actually fired from. Jowers' girlfriend at the time stated that she saw him take a rifle from a man and break it down behind the bar. Jowers later said the gun was thrown into the Mississippi River.
Okay.
Yeah. From there, the evidence was planted at the Lorraine Hotel. Not the Lorraine Hotel, but, well, yeah. Anyways.
Assassination site.
Yeah. Was planted along with false testimony to sell, James Earl Ray down the river. Mm-hmm. He set him up as the Patsy. Did I say Patsy? Patsy. All right.
Who was giving the testimony? Just other eyewitnesses that were paid for as well?
A lot of this came from Loyd Jowers, and like I said, other thing that I talked about in testimony was his girlfriend from the time.
Okay.
Now, why would, Dr. King's family believe this? It's just some dude comes up and says, yeah, no, it was me and the government and the mob, They got no reason to believe it. Well, J. Edgar Hoover hated Dr. King, referring to him as the most notorious liar in the country. J. Edgar Hoover, he was the head of the FBI. Back then. The FBI began surveilling him in 1956 after the Montgomery bus boycott. They tapped his phones in 1963 after they claimed he was a secret Communist Party member. In 1964, FBI sent him a letter saying that he was a sexual psychotic and colossal fraud and urging him to decline the Nobel Peace Prize and step out of leadership.
Damn.
Dr. King also read that, the way that they were wording it as them recommending that he kill himself. The way that they were wording the letter.
Wow.
Yeah. It was also found out that at the time of, the assassination, FBI had 5 paid informants within the Memphis Police Department.
Wow. 5?
Yep. So speaking of the Memphis Police Department, they were pretty shady too. When Dr. King arrived at Memphis, he was under surveillance of 2 black plainclothes cops. So, that's pretty cool. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, they assigned 4 officers to protect him, even though no one requested that. They were cool with the 2 black plainclothes cops. These police officers were asking where Dr. King was going to stay, and whenever they replied that they weren't sure, these cops followed him to the Lorraine Motel. There they stayed until the cops were all recalled back to the station within 1 hour of the assassination. So all the cops that they were like, oh yeah, no, we're going to give you all this protection.
Yeah.
They got recalled back to the station, and then within an hour, Dr. King was shot.
It looked pretty obvious.
Yeah. Now, that was the 4 cops that they had, that were assigned them. Now, the 2 black plainclothes cops, they, instead of leaving all the way, they went to a nearby fire station. It was documented that one of these officers was ordered to go home 2 hours before the assassination due to an attempt on the life of his family.
Dang.
Yeah. No action was taken on that threat, but it is stated that, the officer's name was Reddit, that, he left and that he was a former sprinter that had, been part of Dr. King's security detail in the past. So this guy read it. He was like a sprinter. So, they didn't want somebody to go running after, whoever did the shot. The order that, to recall the officers, that came from a man named Frank Holloman, that was a former FBI member, and at the time, the head of the Memphis Police Department. The other officer did stay, and he was one of the people that rushed to the hotel after the shot, though. So there was just, instead of, it was originally 2 cops, then they made it 6 cops, then they made it 1 cop. Protecting them.
Slowly dwindling it down.
Yeah. The government in general is also super shady about all this. The federal government has repeatedly rejected numerous... Dude?
I'm sorry, my battery about to die. I didn't want it to mess up the recording.
You couldn't plug in before?
No, I was told that the battery was full.
I always plug in. I don't care if my battery says full or not. You are disrespecting me. You're disrespecting Dr. King. Disrespecting our fans. All, I think we got 40 of them now.
Okay. I apologize.
You suck, sir.
I was trying to do it nonchalantly, and
you failed.
It was right next to me. I just couldn't maneuver in a way to do it.
Well, no, I saw that. You had to go and go over behind your head and stuff.
Oh,
are you done?
Sorry. Yes,
do you want to chew some gum in the mic? That again?
I've learned my lesson, and I once again have learned my lesson, because any day but today I have always plugged in, but today I was told that it was a full battery. No need to. I'm all right. I'm gonna plug it in. Didn't even check, and I'm looking at it, and a little thing pops up. So, at least I caught it and didn't die in the middle of it.
That is true. So that is good.
You're
that
welcome.
is the bright side of you being an insufferable asshole.
Yes,
But
I'm sorry. You're welcome.
May I continue now?
Yes,
May I?
you may continue. Yes, I do apologize.
Uh-huh. All right. So as I was saying, the government was just being shady. The federal government has repeatedly rejected numerous requests for government documents regarding Dr. King and his assassination. So, like FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, they're still like, nah. A judge in 1977 ruled that the files had to be sealed for 50 years. Now, unless
what was the reason?
Yeah, because the only time that they really seal anything like that is whenever it has a national security purpose. Unless Martin Luther King was a secret agent that was doing spy stuff or whatever, the only reason for them to seal those records is to cover their ineptitude or their wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had to be a party to one side or the other.
So since that judge did that, there have been a few congressmen that tried to get bills passed to unseal the record, but it has died in various committees like 3 or 4 times. Where they just sit there and, oh yeah, we're going to put this in this committee for review and blah, blah, blah. And it just dies there. But yeah, it's just always super shady. I mean, national security is supposed to be the only reason that things like that are sealed.
Do you think it dies there because people are killing it from within? Or do you think it dies there because they find out what really happened and nobody wants to bring it to light?
No, I don't think they get to find out what happened. I think that, usually somebody is encouraged to make sure that bill dies there. Or it could be that, all these congressmen are like, what do I care about this bill? I'm not getting paid for this one. What corporation is tied to this? Throw this shit out. I don't want to worry about this. I got to make sure that they could put baby powder with lead in it or something. All right, so back to that lawsuit that I mentioned earlier. Based on, the circumstances with all the weirdness, with the police and the FBI and all that other stuff, and then you get Jowers' story, they sued Loyd Jowers and other unknown co-conspirators for $100 for the wrongful death of Dr. King.
How can you sue unknown people?
Well, you do that because then you get to start expanding, where instead of it being, I'm just going to show that this one particular man's responsible for the death, it's this one man and
possibly others.
Okay. Helps things come out. I mean, the move was brilliant because, not only does it show that, there's nothing that this has nothing to do with money.
Yeah, it's just a mission of guilt.
Yeah. It gives them a chance to put on court record the testimony of 70 witnesses, as well as admit thousands of pages of evidence that had seemingly been disregarded by every investigation and reinvestigation done by the government.
Is that file sealed too?
What the file? What
the civil case that you're talking about?
No, it's not. No, it's not sealed up.
Okay.
So, based on the testimony of those 70 witnesses, a jury unanimously found that Jowers was part of a conspiracy involving others, including government agencies.
Wow.
Yeah.
When was that judgment? You said in 1998 is when they filed suit?
It was when the trial was. I think I don't remember when the actual judgment went through.
So somewhere around 1998.
Yeah, 1998 or after. Now, essentially, since the government refuses to release their records, they were using the court system to create a new record, that the Kings and stuff, by basically saying, all right, now this is documented within the government. But in the trial, no government officials testified. They would state in press conferences, stuff like that, is they stood by the previous investigations, including the one done by Janet Reno in the 90s during the Clinton administration. She did a reinvestigation and found that, oh, no, yeah, it was James Earl Ray. Everything was right. Everything was good. I'm going to go burn down some kids in Waco. I'll be right back.
That's a terrible Janet Reno impression.
Oh, play my song. That one.
That's a lot better. I got a question. what members of the King family are taking part in this? Like, who's taking control?
It was his widow, it was his son, his daughters, it was all of them. Not a single one of them was like, "Oh, this is stupid and useless and pointless," or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And in the end, his family, they got what they wanted. They were able to legitimize the evidence about the mafia and the government being involved in the assassination, and that James Earl Ray was set up to take the blame. Now, it didn't get him out of jail. I think he was dead by the time that this was all done. But I mean, it was able to get it out there and make it available to the public.
When that James Earl Ray guy, when he recanted, did he say the same thing as what the King family is saying?
He was set up.
He was saying he was set up?
He said he was set up. All right. But yeah, I mean, that's all this was just getting information out there. Now, the last thing is what bothers me the most. If they were able to take this path, then why don't more people know about this? I'm not saying that the media is controlled by the government, but I'm not saying that either. All I do know is I only found out about this a year ago. This is not something that schools talked about. Nobody went over in college. I was even in a Rise of Jim Crow South class, and we never talked about this.
Do you think they talk about Martin Luther King more as teaching of him being a martyr than him?
Yeah, they love talking about and they should, about the way he was able to go about things in a nonviolent way and the amazing speeches that he had and stuff like that. Yeah, that's all important. I don't know. I would have expected my hippie college professors to be like, "Man, the government killed Dr. King, man." I never really got any of that. No. But the whole reason I'm doing this is do my part to make sure that at least 30 more people get to hear about this.
Hey, maybe more.
Yeah. And if you get slightly interested in this topic or any other topic we cover, and it causes you to go down a rabbit hole, then I figured we were doing a good job. But especially in this case, I really want people to dig in.
As referenced in a previous episode, here at Waywut, we just give you the tip.
Yeah, just the tip.
Just a tip.
Just the tip. It's no, I promise, just the tip. I'm too lazy to go
a little bit. Yeah, just a little while.
Yeah. So that's all I'm doing on this one, because in reality, there's so much more to all this for the sides that do believe it and the sides that don't believe it. So like I said before, there's a video about this on YouTube that is so much better than what I just did. And it's made, and it's made
pretty good.
Yeah. But the guy that makes this, he's my favorite YouTuber. His name's Wendigoon. The link will be in the description. He goes a lot more into detail about the evidence, sitting there showing the trajectory of the shots, talking about obstructions that were actually in the way on the line of sight that the FBI originally claimed, and shows pictures of the documents. Because I've been thinking about this. We have these videos. We do the podcast, so we're available on Spotify and Pocket Cast and all those other ones, Apple Podcasts, and then we put these up on YouTube where honestly more people seem to watch this than listen to us.
It's because of our beautiful faces.
But I don't do even though right now I'm the one that edits these videos, and every now and then I tell myself, I'm like, ooh, we should put pictures up of the things that we're talking about. But I'm like, God, that is a lot more work for me to do on editing these. Mm-hmm. So rather than me doing more work, just look at this as a synopsis of a better video out there. Like I said, it'll be in the link in the description. Go watch his video, and honestly, just subscribe and watch all his videos, because he does a breakdown of the My Chemical Romance Black Parade. That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Super cool.
The song, also, breaks down the lyrics.
A whole album. It's a concept album. I'm not going to talk. Watch his video. I ain't going to tell you nothing.
Oh, all right. Well,
but yeah, he talks about really cool stuff, especially how the government screwed up Ruby Ridge and Waco and stuff like that.
This is a pretty interesting conspiracy theory, considering all of the other ones we've heard of before.
a conspiracy theory, whenever, they get all this evidence, they can run it through court and it gets approved by a jury saying, yep, nope, government was involved.
Oh yeah, there's some fire there.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's what the government does. They kill people. Now we just need them to, admit to doing it to JFK.
All right, to be the devil's advocate here, it seems like, though, with every popular, or anytime there's an assassination, there's always a conspiracy theory or a he really didn't do it story.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean,
yeah,
it could be true. It could not be. I mean,
it's the same weird way. I mean, it's the same with OJ.
Yeah, it's just never an open and shut case. It's just always.
There's always in any high profile case. I mean, sometimes it's people that just want to be on the other side, and then sometimes like where there's smoke, there's fire. So and FBI is like smoking.
Yeah, right now, yeah, they're smoking it all up today or
They've
recently. Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. So if the FBI doesn't, disappear us, then please, join us again. And next time, Jason will tell us about some stuff that'll hopefully make you say, "Wait, what?"
Yep.
All right.
All right, guys. Later.
Thank you for joining us for Way What. We really appreciate you watching or listening. Please subscribe or follow us on your favorite platform to catch our latest episodes that we publish on Tuesdays and sometimes on Fridays. We'd love to hear from you, whether it's rating us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, commenting on our videos or just a podcast episode, or following us and hitting us up on TikTok, Facebook, or X. You can find us there with our handle, Waywut Podcasts. That's WAYWUT Podcast. And that will do it for this episode. Join us next time and we'll make you say, "Wait, what?"